Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Topic is classification and evolution. I told you what is evolution. Most of the life forms which you see today, actually they have evolved from their ancestors by accumulation of changes. It's a very slow process and it takes millions of years to evolve into a new species. So most life forms that we see today have arisen by accumulation of changes in their body's design that allow the organisms possessing them to survive better. I gave you examples of apes to human beings. There is a possibility that complexity in design will increase over evolutionary time. So as the changes accumulate, the body design becomes more complex. If you see body design of an amoeba, it is simpler as compared to a worm. Similarly, if you compare worm to a vertebrate like humans, the humans have a very complex body design. So the primitive organisms have simpler body design, but there is more differentiation of tissues, and tissues form organs as the complexity increases. As the more modern organisms, the more recent organisms have more complex body design. So the older or the primitive organisms, they have simpler, while younger or the more recent organisms have more complex body design. Organisms belonging to the same groups have common ancestors. This is how classification and evolution are interrelated. If organisms are put together in one group, so it helps a scientist to realize that they might be having certain common ancestor, but they gather different changes in their body. Like the birds and the humans, we must be having some common ancestor because birds as well as humans, they are vertebrates. They have a vertebral column, the backbone. So if they are grouped together into single group, it helps the scientists to see the interrelationship and study the evolution. So this way, classification and evolution, they are closely related studies. Next is the hierarchy of classification, how organisms are classified into different groups. Right from the very beginning, Greek thinker Aristotle, he classified organisms or the animals according to whether they lived on land, water or air. This was a very vague type of a classification, but it was in very early times. So it was the beginning when the scientists, they started classifying organisms into different groups. Charles Darwin, he studied evolution in detail and he put forward the idea of evolution in his book in 1859. The book was named Origin of Species. This also helped the scientists to divide or to classify their organisms into different groups. The classification system, the scientists like Haeckel, Robert Whittaker and Carlos Woese, they tried to classify organisms into broad categories. These categories are called the kingdoms. So for earlier, two kingdom classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus, and in 1758 he classified the living organisms into plants and animals. They were the two major groups. But later on, five kingdom classification was given by H. Whittaker in 1951. It is still used. This classification is still used by the scientists. The five kingdoms are Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, then Kingdom Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. We'll study about these five groups in detail. You need to know the characteristics of these five groups with their examples. Later on, however, Carl Woese in 1977, he further divided the Kingdom Monera into two parts, Arachibacteria and Eubacteria. All right. So once the organisms are divided into kingdom, which is the topmost hierarchy, then they are further divided into subgroups. So the next subgroup is called phylum for animals and it is named as division in plants. Then after that, the next subgroup is the class, then order, family, genus and species. This is how they are further divided. So basically each genus will be divided into several species or each family will be divided into several genus. It's like that. It's like the smaller and smaller branches. So if you can easily understand that maximum number of organisms are actually present in kingdom. Okay, because all the organisms, the lakhs of organisms, they are divided into 5 groups, kingdoms. Then each kingdom is divided into further subgroups. So the number of organisms in subgroups keeps on decreasing. So the least number of organisms will be present in a species. Species is a basic unit of classification, right? It is in the lowest level of hierarchy. It includes all the organisms that are similar, and they are similar in the structural design, they are similar in the cellular design, the number of chromosomes they have, and they can breed among themselves and produce offsprings. So this is called species. So you can consider all the human beings, whether they are living in Africa or America or India, anywhere, all human beings include one species. Okay, so this will give you an idea what is a species. So this 5-kingdom classification was given by Robert H. Whittaker in 1969. All right. So first, organisms are divided as prokaryotic and eukaryotic. This is the first basis. All the prokaryotics, actually they are unicellular. So there is no further division. All the prokaryotic unicellular are called the monera. This is the first kingdom, monera, the prokaryotic cells which are unicellular. The second one, eukaryotic, the second group, they are further divided into two subgroups. Either they are unicellular or multicellular. Eukaryotics can be unicellular or multicellular. Those which are eukaryotic and unicellular, they are categorized as protista. This is the second kingdom. First was monera, prokaryotic, unicellular. Second, eukaryotic unicellular, that is protista. Then eukaryotic multicellular can further be divided into two categories, with cell wall and without cell wall. The one without cell wall are called the animalia. With cell wall are further divided into two categories, phototrophic or the autotrophic, because they contain chlorophyll, they can make their own food. So this third category is plantae. Alright, all those organisms which are phototrophic, which have cell wall and multicellular and eukaryotic. Okay, the fourth category is fungi. Okay, although they have cell wall, but they are heterotrophic. They cannot make their own food. They do not contain the chlorophyll. So if I ask you what are the features of fungi, you can just go upward in this flow chart. The eukaryotic, multicellular, with cell wall, heterotrophic. These are the characteristics of fungi. On the other hand, the fifth kingdom is the animalia. These are eukaryotic, multicellular, without cell wall, and also they are heterotrophic. So this is how the 5 kingdoms are divided: monera, protista, fungi, plantae, animalia.